Hi, welcome to another Expert Insights discussion. Today we're joined again by Apo Demirtas, founder and CEO at Hotel IQ. We decided to revisit a topic we discussed with Apo earlier in the year when he outlined his views that the way hotels forecast is wrong and outdated. Also, just quickly want to mention that Apo recently joined other BI technology experts as a panelist at a Journey online event discussing current BR related issues, and the link is in the notes should you wish to hear their thoughts. Anyway, back to today's conversation where we look at why Apo feels decision intelligence, as opposed to just business intelligence, is crucial to deliver effective budgets and forecasts. Really hope you enjoy the conversation, and please feel free to comment below. And you know what to do with those thumbs up and subscribe buttons. We really appreciate the support. Roll the intro. Hey Apo, how are you? Well, good to see you again. All things good with you?
Oh, well, Trevor, thank you. How about you?
Yeah, very well, very well indeed. Now, I'm conscious just in the last couple of minutes hearing your itinerary over the next couple of weeks and,
I know.
and the amount of flying that you're going to be doing and visits. We're not going to keep you long on this conversation, but I really appreciate you finding the time to talk with us, because we wanted to, as we are either in or soon entering the hotel budget and forecast season. We
Hmm.
really wanted to revisit this topic. We did a video before
Hmm.
where you were pretty clear that you feel the way forecasting, how forecasting is done currently, is
Yeah.
wrong, outdated, and leading to inaccurate and ineffective outcomes, and why you believe. And you're pretty upfront. Hotel IQ is a business intelligence, or as you refer to it, decisions intelligence company. So there is a vested interest in obviously explaining why you think it's important. But you believe that the adoption of decision intelligence is crucial if we really want to focus on delivering effective budgets and forecasts. I've understood that correctly. Yeah, that's that's your kind of stance on this topic. Yeah.
Yeah, you have encapsulated correctly. The only thing is, from a timing standpoint, we're in the budgeting season. We're always in the forecasting season at our
Good
end.
point. Good
The
point.
hotel industry forecasts all the time, which is yet another challenge, right? A hotel industry tries to forecast by day all the time. And that's one notion that I want to touch upon. Why do we need to forecast? Why don't we just let the predictive analytics tell us exactly, how the future shapes
Yep.
every single day, as opposed to forecasting every single month,
And having it kind of
right?
static or
Yes,
reviewing it. Yeah.
absolutely. The minute you forecast today, right, it might be obsolete tomorrow.
Yep.
So yes. So basically, it's. I want to move the hotel industry away from the notion of forecasting
Mm-hmm.
to the notion of looking at predictions and making their strategic decisions or tactical decisions based on what those predictions are telling them.
And
But
that's
in any case,
and that's where that business intelligence, or as I say, as you guys refer to it, decision intelligence comes into play.
that is correct. So we have come up with the terminology, decision intelligence, and after this airs, I'll probably see a lot of people using the same term, or shall I say, copying the same terms. But then again, it would be great to see the industry start thinking and speaking in terms of decision intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Business intelligence is just one element, one component of the journey of decision intelligence.
Right.
So, and forecasting and budgeting is yet another element of it, right?
So,
But within, go ahead.
so how would you define decision intelligence then? I mean, as you say, you've touched on a couple of areas, and I know you talk about four pillars, and we'll come to those. But
Sure.
if you kind of had to summarize, if there is a simple way of summarizing decision intelligence, what is it?
There is. Decision intelligence is a culmination of data management or organization,
Mm-hmm.
analytics, which is BI,
Mm-hmm.
right? And planning, which is predictive modeling to forecast out the future, and collaboration, which is the fourth pillar, which allows you to seamlessly collaborate through the platform, through the technology, using or benefiting from the first three pillars. And on the basis of the intelligence and insight that you gather as a result of what you do in those three pillars, in the fourth pillar, you start communicating. As a hotelier, one of the things that also got under my skin was the fact that we were constantly emailing each other PDFs and Excel spreadsheets and so on. With no interactivity, right? We wanted to change that. So we have given the hotels and hoteliers the ability to communicate through Hotel IQ without having to, again, export it into Excel or PDF and email it out to people.
Gotcha.
So in that kind of environment, communication becomes dynamic. The minute you start sending to me through the platform, I see it right away, and I make my changes to it, and you see the changes I make, sort of like Google Docs, if you will.
Yeah. I've got you.
You know what I mean? But within the decision intelligence space.
Yeah, you haven't had to go out to a separate program or platform to be able to do that.
Correct. Yeah.
So let's just pick up on those four pillars. So and go through each one. You've touched a little bit on the fourth one there about the collaboration. We'll come to that.
Sure.
But just kind of we roll back to number one. So the first pillar is as you see it.
The very first pillar, which everything begins with, really, is data management and data organization. So,
and by the data, by data, I mean data is coming in from so many different areas. So what are you focusing in on here?
Right. So within the first pillar, what we call organized internally is the master data management piece. So Hotel IQ gives the hotels and the hotel industry the ability to manage and organize their data in a very user-friendly, seamless fashion. So data is very disorganized. It's very fragmented, especially in hotel business, right? And there are different kinds of data, whether they're rate code related or profiles, and any hotelier would know that they're just a mess. And getting them organized is an exceptionally expensive and time-consuming process in the source systems. And in some cases, you want to be able to fix them. If the data is wrong, if the structure is wrong in, say, the property management system, historically, you will not be able to fix that. It'll always be wrong, right? But whereas in Hotel IQ, you can actually get to correct the history,
right?
Using our technology. But so that's the first pillar. Data is a whole bunch of ones and zeros. It means nothing.
But without it being organized, it doesn't prove anybody.
Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly right, Trevor. It's useless. When I say this to people, their eyes just pop up, and I tell them that data is worthless. It is worthless unless it is organized and refined. Think of it like this: when oil comes out of the ground, it is absolutely useless.
Yeah.
Useless until you put it through a refinement process. And then what comes out at the end of the refinement process becomes priceless.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how data is.
Well, that makes sense.
And so that first pillar is that refinement process within Hotel IQ, and it's very seamless.
And then the second pillar?
That's what we call analyze.
Okay.
And that is where we have the BI piece, business intelligence piece, the analytics engine.
So is that, right? To use your analogy, is that the refining piece of it?
No, the refining piece is the first pillar, which is
so that's your refinery, right? Okay, so the refinery is then pumping out something of value.
Correct.
I've got and then you're coming into your second pillar, the analyzing, the BI bit,
Exactly. So think of that as the engine.
Yeah, got you. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So the first pillar being organized, which is the refinery.
Yep.
Right. Oil comes in. Data.
Yep.
And worthless goes through the refinement process, and what comes out is priceless.
Yep.
And that goes into the engine, which is what we call analyze, the BI and analytics engine.
Actually does something with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then it gives you an outcome, and that outcome is insight. Insight could be lagging or leading.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, it's an insight. And multidimensional, very dynamic insights that you get out of the organized, not organized, analyzed pillar.
Yeah.
So then from there, you get even more granular, and you go into the planning stage, which is the third pillar, right?
Yep.
Which is where we have the predictive engine. And there are two main, basically, components to that predictive engine under the planning pillar, or within the planning pillar, and that is machine learning and AI technology we use.
Mm-hmm.
But we marry that with our proprietary time series models that predict out into the future at the most granular level, which is rate code.
Right. Okay. And that's the element that when you talk about improving forecasting and even the whole, that's the bit which is, okay, this is live. We've, using your analogy, there is oil coming out of the ground all the time, i.e. the hotel data. We are putting it through the refinery into the engine to doing the analysis, and then we have a way of being able, it's kind of the engine's ready to go, but where are we going to point it? What are we going to do with that engine? Where are we going to drive it now it's ready to go? So it's almost like you're predicting a journey, almost like a Google Maps or something. If we're working with a loose car analogy, I'm kind of pulling some bits together here.
I like it. Yeah, let's just stick with that. Yes, you're right. Absolutely. So yeah, within Hotel IQ, we basically do it all, right, end to end. Once we get that oil, we refine it, we put it through engine using car analogy, right? And that's the BI and analytics piece. And then there comes, okay, where's the car going to go? Okay, it has the gasoline.
Yep.
And it has the engine. The engine is running, but where is it going to go? And that is the planning piece, because where we have, as I said, the AI and machine learning piece coupled with our proprietary time series models. And so that is your GPS. You're absolutely right? So then that guides your efforts in marketing, in sales, in distribution, in revenue management, and a lot of things. At the same time, it automates the forecasting and budgeting process.
And that's the bit we want to touch on, because I know when we were talking a few days ago about revisiting this topic, there was as this time of year, there's a lot of chatter going on about forecast budgets, and as you say, your view is, I don't know, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, but why so much time is spent talking about all this, I'll use the word nonsense, where actually, why aren't we just moving into modern day and doing things in a different way? So could you, if we narrow this down just into this forecasting piece, and what I want to do, because there are other intelligence or insights solutions out there, this isn't just a Hotel IQ video. In a way, what you're trying to see is, as an industry, let's move forward, please, and do things in a more progressive way. Hopefully, they will evaluate Hotel IQ and choose you guys to help support them to do that. But if we can narrow down into just broad brush to start with as to why you fundamentally believe this, using our GPS as a direction of travel. I can understand the link, having spoken with you, but can you kind of just map out, as someone who's been a hotelier, as someone that's gone through this process, as to why the way things are done now is just so crazy, and how an intelligence tool could fundamentally change the way we go about that process?
Let's begin with how it's done today, right? It's all 99% of the time today in the hotel industry, unless they're using Hotel IQ, it's all done manually using Excel. And I don't call Excel an automated platform. It's just a tool. It helps you to do your job manually. Excel was introduced by Microsoft in 1985. And the hotel industry still works as if it is 1985. Mm-hmm. It ain't. It's not. We have progressed. We've been to the moon in 1969. And Excel, again, it was introduced in 1985. And here we are. And today, in a hotelier, especially within the space of revenue management and or general managers or whoever is watching this, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And the budgeting process for the following year starts now in August. Why? Because it's a very lengthy, cumbersome process because of its very manual nature of it. And I have been on a mission to really stop that, to automate that process. Now, a lot of people talk about it, Trevor. Look, I just did the other day before I spoke with you. I was looking at all these posts on LinkedIn. I'm glad they are talking. I'm glad people are talking, but those that are talking and giving somewhat of their opinion are not necessarily qualified, right? This is no joke. To get this right, it takes tremendous expertise in business science, driven by operations research, applied economics, and statistics. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You really need to have that kind of a backbone expertise to be able to apply to the hotel industry using its data. So luckily for us, we have that expertise. And luckily for us, we know hotel industry like back of our hand. So that being said, the key going forward, the major step going forward is really have the hotel industry come out of its comfort zone, right? And stop using these Excel spreadsheets, stop spending hours and hours and hours on end to create forecasts. And when they do so, it doesn't even end up being as accurate because it's all manual. There's no science behind it. More often than not, the way it's done, Trevor, is that they take a baseline, whatever the baseline might be, 2019. Okay, forget 2020, but maybe 2021. Yeah. Maybe this year, 2022, and then apply plus or minus a percentage to it, mm-hmm. right? No, that's not how you get to accuracy. You get to accuracy by using what we call a zero-based approach. And then you start basically predicting out at the most granular level, and that is rate code. And then build up from there based on your market segmentation mapping. So and you do this day by day.
So just picking up on that, this about the rate code, because I'm guessing if people were to think about, okay, now I'm forecasting at a rate code, I mean, goodness knows the number of rate codes that must exist within a hotel. So I guess most would do it in bigger chunks of forecasting, yeah,
that is right.
To simplify it. But you're saying, okay, that might work to a degree, but there's just so much variable within that it's almost not worth the effort.
Exactly. I mean, to be able to get to really most accurate guidance. When I say guidance, that's what it is really. That's what you're trying to achieve with forecast. You really have to start from the most granular level, the smallest building blocks, and then build it up from there. Now, forecasting at a rate code level on a day-by-day basis, 365 days out, it's not possible, mm-hmm. period, by hand using Excel. You need to use the power of computing, yep. and the power of data science and business science in general to be able to predict out at a day-by-day level, at a rate code level, and 365 days out, or how many days out. And obviously using AI and machine learning technology, which enables you to detect sudden changes. Mm-hmm. But that's not a one-time exercise. That's a living and breathing process. It never stops. The engine constantly predicts out. You look, if you have a hotel, you look at a time frame in the future. Right now, Trevor, okay, you see X. Okay, well, 3 hours later, we take a look at it again. That might be a different number. It will be a different number. But hotel industry today, when they forecast, it's that's just for even those that use Hotel IQ today. What they do is they they look at, we have our predictions, we have our forecast management system within Hotel IQ, and you see predictions into the future. What they do is they take a snapshot of it, they save.
Right.
For example, you're looking at January 2023. As of right now, you save that picture, you call that your forecast, and then you don't look at it again, or you don't do it again for about 30 days or something. But why do we do this? Because the minute you do that, and tomorrow you look at January in the predictions, it will be a different picture. Mm-hmm. So what's the point of taking that snapshot and freezing it and calling that's my forecast? I think what I'm trying to do is get the industry to realize that get rid of forecasts, basically. Just look at your predictions every single day and take your actions so that you're not behind the eighth ball.
And I guess that's the bit that I wanted, because you were saying, well, I was almost going to turn the question round on you. If you say, well, what's the point of taking a snapshot and having a forecast? It's like, well, okay, putting it another way, if I'm a hotelier and I'm sitting there and you're saying you should be doing this way with a solution that can be giving you these predictions that are adjusting every time something is changing in the data set. How then, if I'm open-minded to doing that, mm-hmm. and I think, okay, I'm prepared to invest in that, how am I going to shift? What is the benefit of me of not having that snapshot and doing something I've always done? Because half of the problem is I've got to see a big reason to move out of my comfort zone. So if suddenly now I'm saying, okay, I can shift myself out of it, but I like to fall back on the way I've always done things, so I've got to have a big compelling argument. What am I going to gain tomorrow when I come in and I've all my predictions and forecasts, using that word, as updated? What am I going to do differently with that? How is that actually going to help me, as opposed to me looking at my sheet on the wall of a snapshot?
Okay, yeah, exactly, on the wall of a snapshot. Exactly, you said it beautifully there. All right, so several things going on here. Number one, and I hope people don't get offended by this, but a lot of people hide behind complex Excel spreadsheets. It's mm-hmm. kind of a job security for them. Mm-hmm. And you create this gigantic Excel spreadsheet environment, whether to forecast or do other things, and nobody else can figure it out. And it's so prone to error because it's all manual input. One cell has wrong formula, then everything else goes wrong. And anyway, so that's one issue, right? But then people need to see benefit. If you're taking that, comfort zone away from me, job security away from me, what do I gain? What you gain is time. People should not be producers of information, Trevor. They should be consumers of information. Mm-hmm. All right? If you are trying to be a producer of something, go and work on a farm. And but as an intellectual worker, you need to be a consumer of information, so that human brain, with that insight, you make the right decisions. I never advocate replacing human beings and human brain with machines. Absolutely not. Because the machine will never have that intuition. Mm-hmm. And but what you need to do is, the most powerful computer is the human brain. So you need to really feed that with insight. What you're doing by manually doing all these things and spending more than half your time, any director of revenue management watching this would know that, you are basically not using the full capacity of the most powerful computer, which is your brain. Mm-hmm. And that's what you gain. You gain your brain power back.
And what am I going to do with it? So suddenly now I come in tomorrow morning, I've got this system is working for me. What am I doing differently with that?
You make informed decisions. By doing this manually, putting your head in the sand and doing it manually, you miss out on a lot of opportunities. The markets move fast. Mm-hmm. Okay. So while you're trying to prepare your budget for the following year and take 3-4 months doing so, the markets move fast and you miss out on a lot of things. And so your job as a commercial leader in a hotel or a hotel organization is really to make decisions, not produce, to make decisions. And what you're trying to do is you're spending half the time trying to produce information, and the other half, you're trying to make decisions. You're basically limiting your capacity to make even better decisions. So the outcome, the end result would be a better financial result. Basically, you gain greater financial sanity for your hotel company or your hotel itself, if you're at a hotel level. It's really critical. I mean, those that are hoteliers, why don't you wash dishes by hand now? Why do you use a dishwasher? Mm-hmm. Right? So wash it by hand or at home.
And I guess to your picking up on the word commercial, there's been a lot of discussion over the last 12, 18 months about the silos breaking down. The pandemic created a lot of that, and the need because of less staff, basically, or staff working in different ways to actually be more interactive. Well, if I'm understanding what you're saying correctly, is that almost, maybe phrase is wrong, but without a decision intelligence or business intelligence tool giving you these predictions further out the window and then being able to look at, okay, what has changed, how has that impacted, you're actually not able to be more commercial, because it's a bit like, back to our analogy of a GPS. If I'm going on a journey, I need to know if an accident is going to happen, and then I'm going to employ probably a couple of other people in the car, because I'm driving at the time, to work out what are some different strategies or different routes that we could use to get to where we originally wanted to be at that time, or there might be a slight adjustment to the time, and we can live with that. But if I don't have a tool telling me, I could still have the people in the car who could work out a solution or a plan or a campaign or a revenue management strategy. But if we don't know what's coming up ahead and what that plan or campaign needs to be, then we just arrive at a destination and react. Is that?
That is so true. And, we can come up with analogies until the cows come home. Yeah. But here's one. What did the sailors do back in the day, right? They used to look at stars to find their way. Mm-hmm. And if it's a cloudy day, good luck, right? You can still do that today. The stars are still there. But you're not doing that. You're looking at your GPS. Mm-hmm. Why not look at the stars still? And you might get there and you might not. Who knows? But with GPS, you will get there for sure. You're absolutely right. It'll tell you exactly turn by turn where to go, how to, and what time it's going to get there. And if you want to take a different turn, you can do that too. But eventually, it'll always get you to the destination that you like. And you make the choice. You do this manually, mm-hmm. and you risk a lot in the meantime. Or you let business science and technology, a combination of both, take you there in a very efficient and accurate way. So the choice is in the hands of those that run hotel companies or hotels. But as far as I'm concerned, that choice is very, very clear.
And I think that comes back to your point that it's no longer talking about doing a forecast. You just have a continual prediction. And you are adjusting to how that prediction is changing, and then saying, okay, that isn't where we expected to be. Something has changed. So how are we adjusting today to try, either from a marketing point of view or from a revenue point of view, to maybe fill a hole that has been developing, that we've been watching over a period of time. Whereas if we had a static forecast, we might not pick that up until a later point in time, and in which case it might be too late for us to do anything about it.
Yeah, absolutely, Trevor. Look, budgeting, I understand. If you're a hotel company, if you're a public hotel company, you need to give guidance to the investors. Mm-hmm. And or if you're a hotel, you would want to have a general guidance into the future. when you prepare that budget, now the process has already started. They usually locked it in late October, early November.
Mm-hmm.
Still, some fine tuning takes place in December for the following year. I get that if you want to give some guidance, but then again, it changes, right? So I really want to get this notion of forecasting and budgeting out of the equation. I just want us to talk about predictions every single day. Look at the predictions for the following year, for tomorrow, for next month, whatever the time frame might be, right? But I do understand why companies want to do that because they want to give guidance to the investors. But even then, that guidance might be obsolete shortly after you give it to them.
Yeah, because you have, if you're a public company, as you say, you have the stock market. If you're not public, you may have owners, you may have asset managers, you may have, you potentially, unless you own the actual property yourself, you are probably having to feed back to somebody some
That's
sort
right,
of guidance as how you think the year's going to go. So as you say, having that budget maybe, which is indicative of what you expect, is one stepping stone. But then rather than having a forecast that is showing how far you are variant around that budget and your forecast, you actually have predictions which are happening in a more real time basis.
Just like right, yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify. We've spoken a bit there about people in the revenue management space. And what we're talking about here in terms of predictions is not then rate predict. This isn't about optimizing price at any particular point. Those two, I mean, do they sit together? Are they completely independent? How does that work?
Oh, they're completely independent. They don't. It's apples and oranges, right? A price optimization platform, what they call revenue management system. Mm-hmm. A price optimization platform has one job and one job only, and that is to optimize price points. It's a critical job. It's a very important job, right? You miss out on optimizing your prices, then you'll leave money on the table, for sure. But either way, I mean that means increasing prices or decreasing prices. But finding that optimum price point is a matter of operations research. But in the science of operations research, OR as we call it. On the other hand, decision intelligence is a totally different ballgame, right? It has 4 different pillars, as we discussed. The consumers of a decision intelligence platform, like Hotel IQ, for example, is everyone who has stake in the financial, commercial sanity of a hotel or hotel company, beginning from the CEO on down to everybody else, really. Whereas the audience of a price optimization platform is revenue management, because again, it's all about inventory management, and it's all about price optimization. They both go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. But decision intelligence, on the other hand, really guides your actions, your decisions, your commercial decisions, whether they're in sales, marketing, distribution, revenue management, even public relations, actually. Mm-hmm. Whereas a price optimization platform is already making pricing decisions. You're not making, you know what I mean? So that's a major difference. A decision intelligence platform actually is giving you the guidance to make decisions yourself, whereas price optimization is making pricing decisions.
One element of it. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So again, two very different worlds. Very important worlds, but two different worlds. Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I just wanted to touch on it for all the revenue professionals who will be watching or listening will understand that. I think sometimes, obviously, if you don't come from a revenue management background and you're running a hotel, there can sometimes be this crossover between where you're maybe relying on your revenue team or someone from revenue to be putting together with the finance some forecasting, and it could be seen that these two things could be one and the same or closely interrelated. And as you say, they are separate entities. They are both important entities, both critically important to hotels' revenue and profitability, but they perform totally separate functions.
Totally. It's like, if I have a heart, do I need a brain?
Yeah.
Or if I have a brain, do I need a heart? That kind of a conversation, right? So you need both.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Conscious of your time, I think what I wanted to do was to use this because we had done a lot before on the forecasting, and we'll make sure the link to that previous video is in any of the notes that we have. But what I wanted to do was to just move from why you thought it was wrong into, and this is what you think you should be doing. And that's why I wanted to touch on the decision intelligence piece and spend a little bit of time just going through that to help people understand how that is driving or can help you to drive commercial decisions. And I think fundamentally, when we were talking about this conversation and what we were going to discuss, the message that came through to me is just how much you would want everybody to stop talking about forecasting. You get the budget bit, but if we could just stop talking about forecasting and we can just focus on talking about predictions, that in itself would just be a massive leap forward.
Absolutely. Talk is cheap, as they say.
Well, yeah, exactly. Maybe it needs a bit of investment somewhere.
Yeah, big time.
Brilliant. Well, look, I'm conscious of your time, so we'll wrap that up here. But I look forward to picking this up with you and having further conversations, probably looking into next year and hearing more about what you guys are all about. So you take care. Thanks so much.
My pleasure. Thank you, Trevor.
Well, I hope that conversation was of interest, and thanks again to Apo for joining us. If you have any thoughts or views on this conversation, please feel free to comment below. And if you like the discussion, please don't forget a thumbs up. If you're interested in more of our videos, here is a link to our Expert Insights playlist. Here is the link to that BI event Apo took part in. And here is the button if you would like to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. Thanks again for watching.